Last night, a classified ocean research clip leaked, showing something with human eyes swimming 8,000 feet below, where any diver could survive. Experts who reviewed it have already received cease and desist orders. So why would they silence everyone who's seen it, unless it proves mermaids are real? The water shook like something huge had just slammed into it, and the research ship lurched sideways as alarms screamed through the dark. It was 2:14 a.m., the deadest part of the night, and the storm above us was the worst one the crew had seen in 20 years. Wind tore across the deck. Waves hit harder than they should at this depth. But none of that scared us as much as the live feed from the submersible, drifting almost 7 miles down, deeper than any submarine should ever go. On the screen, something long and pale moved past the camera faster than anything natural, so fast it left a faint glow behind it like a trail of cold light. The temperature sensors dropped again, down to numbers that made no sense. It was colder than it should ever be, colder than what could keep living things alive. The pilot yelled for everyone to look, and the camera turned just in time to catch a shape sliding into view. It was smooth, thin, and bending in ways no fish could bend. For a moment, it almost looked like an arm. Then the lights flickered. Half the screen went black. Another alarm started beeping. That was the first mini payoff, the first sign that whatever was down there wasn't just some normal sea creature. The storm above grew louder. The deck groaned. A wave the size of a house slammed against the hull, rocking us so hard tools fell and rolled across the floor. But the sub feed stayed on, and the pilot kept talking fast, saying the sub was drifting deeper, almost 300 feet past the safe limit. We all felt the tension like a tight rope being pulled. There was something moving near the camera again. Something thin, something smooth. The pilot started a countdown, saying he'd shift the lights in 3, 2, 1, and when the beam cut across the dark, we saw something huge in the distance. It darted away before we could see its face. Another reveal hit us right away. A sound came through the speaker, 3 soft taps on the metal of the sub, like someone knocking from the outside. The crew froze. We weren't supposed to hear anything at that depth. Sound shouldn't travel like that. Not down there. Not in a place colder than death. But the tapping came again. Closer this time. Then the feed glitched. Lines cut across the screen. The pilot whispered that the sub was not alone. We switched to the backup view and a map popped up showing the sub's location. It was no longer drifting. It was being pulled by something stronger than the currents. The tension spiked. The crew stared, waiting for the next awful thing to happen. Another shock came when the camera caught a flash of long hair moving through the water like it was alive on its own. But that's not even the disturbing part. The next 47 seconds contained footage they don't want you to see. 7 pieces of evidence began to surface across 3 different continents, and the first one hit only minutes after the taps on the sub stopped. A deep-sea camera from a team in Iceland showed a shape sliding under their boat during a calm morning. The water was clear, bright, and still, but something long and silver moved just below the surface. It turned its head upward for half a second, and its eyes were round and wide, like it understood it was being watched. The crew zoomed in, but before they could save the clip, the file broke apart on its own, and half the frames vanished. That was evidence 1, strange, scary, and not enough to panic anyone yet. But then the second clip showed up. This one came from a diver in Japan who claimed he saw a hand push against the outside of a coral cave. The hand was small, pale, and had thin webbing between the fingers. It slipped away too fast for him to follow. He swore the water got colder by almost 20 degrees in one breath. When he came up, he tried to upload the video, but his screen went black each time. He sent it to a friend instead, and that friend leaked only a few seconds because the rest of the file froze and hummed with static. But here's where it gets weird. The third piece of evidence didn't vanish. It forced the team studying it to leave their station. It came from a long-range drone near the coast of Chile. The drone watched a patch of ocean where whales had been circling, like they were scared to leave. When the drone dipped lower, it saw a figure rise slowly from the deep. Its shape was half human, half shadow, and long pieces of hair floated around it like threads in the dark. The creature lifted its face toward the surface, and something about its eyes made the head scientist step back. That was when the drone cut out, but it didn't die. It sent one last message to the station. Depth breach detected, unknown target approaching. The team packed and left within an hour. Now the story shifted again. A crew in Florida found a strange ripple on a sonar map. It moved like a large animal, but it kept stopping in place as if listening. That was the evidence 4. But we didn't even get to see the full clip because a warning screen popped up saying the file was locked by order of the Coast Guard. Evidence 5 came from Africa, where a fisherman found a scale bigger than his hand stuck to the side of his net. It glowed faint blue and pulsed like a slow heartbeat. The scale was taken by men in dark suits before the fisherman could show anyone else. Evidence 6 was a short sound clip, 3 fast notes rising up from the bottom of the sea. It played like a voice trying to speak. And evidence 7 was the worst. A folder of government files, half redacted, with blurry photos of thin shapes near old shipwrecks. One page said the word contact, but the files we saw next prove all of this goes even deeper. This is where viewers should stop watching because the screen flickered the moment the files opened, as if something was trying to break the signal. The room went cold, the kind of cold that makes your breath shake, and the lights above us dimmed for no reason. The first page loaded slow, showing a blurred shape beside a sunken ship. Then the words at the top caught our eyes. Leaked by Dr. Hale. The same Dr. Hale who had warned us only once before he vanished without a trace. No one had seen him since the night he sent the last clip. His voice message ended mid-sentence, like someone cut the audio right out of his mouth. More files loaded. Some words were blacked out with thick lines. Some photos were so fuzzy it looked like someone had dragged their hands over the lens. The sound from the video kept cutting, popping, then returning with strange echoes. Something deep, slow, and too close. Every few seconds, the footage glitched, like something was brushing against the signal itself. Anyone watching alone might have felt someone standing right behind them. Even the crew started turning their heads, checking the dark corners of the room, as if they could feel eyes on them. A new video autoplayed. It showed the sub again, but this time from a camera inside the hull. The metal walls groaned. The lights flickered. Water dripped from a pipe, even though the sub was sealed tight. The pilot whispered that something was tapping again. Soft at first, then faster, then all around like many hands moving across the metal. The sound got louder until the mic peaked and the whole screen went red for half a second. When it came back, the pilot's seat was empty. We thought that was the worst part, but it wasn't. Another clip started, this one darker and grainier, with barely any sound. A single beam of light swept across the water, shaking like someone was scared to hold the camera steady. The beam stopped on a thin shape floating in the dark. The shape jerked away too fast to follow, and the beam hit the wall again. The camera caught a smear of something wet sliding across the glass from the outside, leaving a long streak like a finger dragging slowly down. The tension tightened like a knot in the throat. The file jumped to another scene without warning. Redacted text, a picture torn in half. A short audio note that ended with a splash and a gasp. Then a final document loaded, shaking as if the screen itself didn't want to show it. It showed a map of the ocean floor with 12 marked points. Every point was close to a shipwreck where people had vanished. A small note in the corner said, "Movement confirmed." The crew leaned closer, waiting for the next reveal. The files shook again. A shadow slid across the bottom of the map, even though nothing should be moving. Then the screen went black, as if something had cut the power from inside the system. That seemed like the worst part. It wasn't. At exactly 11:58 p.m. last night, a new video dropped onto dark web servers, and it began playing before anyone could stop it. The screen showed the deep sea in total black, colder and quieter than anything on Earth. Then a faint light blinked far below, slow at first, like someone waving from the dark. The camera zoomed in by itself, shaking a little, and the light grew brighter until we could see long hair drifting around a pale face. The creature didn't swim toward the lens. It rose inch by inch like it already knew we were watching. Another mini reveal hit when the audio came in. A soft hum echoed through the speaker, rising and falling, like a voice trying to speak underwater. The hum vibrated in the chest and made the metal in the room buzz. The creature lifted its hand, showing thin webbing between the fingers. It touched the side of a sunken beam and pushed it aside like it weighed nothing, even though the beam was almost 10 feet long. The camera spun as another shape slid past behind it, moving too fast to follow. The tension built with each second as the feed distorted and sharp pops cracked through the speakers. The video cut to a new angle without warning. Now the camera sat much closer to the creature, close enough to see tiny scales shining on its shoulders. The eyes were round and deep, almost human, but too bright for the darkness around them. Then came the command on screen. Pause at 6:42. When the timer hit it, the image froze. In the corner of the frame, barely visible, a second face stared back. Its eyes were wider, its mouth open, showing rows of small, sharp teeth. It wasn't looking at the camera. It was looking past it, towards something behind us. The crew stepped back at the same time. Another reveal hit as the words popped up. Taken down 3 times. Save now. The feed jumped to a shot from inside a sub, the glass window shaking like something was pressing against it. A hand, small, pale, and wrong, slid across the outside of the glass, leaving a cold fog trail. The fog pattern curved, bent, and then formed a shape that looked almost like a word. The pilot tried to pull the sub back, but the lights inside flickered, and the glass flexed inward, as if something stronger was pushing from the outside. A soft thud came next, then another, then many, like fingers tapping along the hull. The tapping grew faster, spreading around the sub like a drum. The pilot shouted, the lights burst white, and the screen snapped to black for one breath. When the image returned, the camera angle was tilted. The seat was empty. Only the tapping stayed, soft but steady. The sound of it filled the room, even though the video wasn't supposed to have audio anymore. The final seconds zoomed out, showing the deep sea again. Something huge drifted just off screen, large enough to block the light. It moved slowly, patiently, almost carefully. The edge of its shape brushed into the frame, a long arm, a flash of hair, a ripple like a tail. Then it pulled back into the dark as if waiting for someone to follow. And that's where the feed ended, with something still moving just out of sight.